Hi there, I'm Eric Hollenbeck, Director of Percussion Studies at Colorado State University. I'm talking about the Timpani Etude for the 2017 Colorado Band and Orchestra All-State Auditions for Percussion. Today, basically, we're talking about page 21 from Garwood Whaley's Musical Studies for the Intermediate Timpanist. And on this piece, basically, you have 3 drums, 3 pitches, and you're tuning basically F octaves with a C in between. The first thing I'd like to talk about, of course, is tuning, because that's something that's unique to timpani. And what I recommend when you actually go to play this is you have some type of procedure that is clear and that is cogent. And what I like to do is use a tuning fork, not a pitch pipe, so you're actually referencing from a given pitch. And this is something you could actually use in an ensemble situation. So get your A, and then from there, sing down. Mi, re, do, ti, do. And you've got your F. Now on the 32-inch drum, you need to make sure you understand the range, which is D to A, so F is about in the middle. So you're gonna start the pedal below that with your F here. You're gonna gently tap while your ear is close to it. And then tap it again. And you've got your F. Now moving up from there to the 29-inch drum, we're gonna put a C. And the C, you can think obviously perfect fifth. And typically I'm a really component of using songs to find pitches, intervals. And so you can use Twinkle Twinkle, Star Wars. I use a tune by Dave Matthews called The Space Between, which is a great tune to use that. But what I would do is check out what you got in your MP3 player, your phone, that is a melody that you've heard quite often, and figure out what interval and maybe find one that's got a perfect fifth. There's a lot of pop songs out there that basically use perfect fifths within the melody, early in the melody, which is cool. So try and reference that, because that's much more accurate than how many times you've probably sang Twinkle Twinkle to yourself. So anyways, use your bottom F. You get that pitch. From there, find a C. So you can think Twinkle Twinkle. Again, make sure you understand C is going to be towards the top of this drum range, so the pedal is going to move towards the top. Start below, hit it once in the playing area with your ear close. Okay, hit it again to check. Okay, and you've got your C. And you'll notice I only hit the drum twice. It's important that you don't overplay the drum, as it tends to play games with your ear a little bit. Okay? And then from there, we're going to find our high F, okay, octave above the low F on the 26-inch drum, which is at the very top of the range. The range of a 26 drum typically is about B flat to F. So we're right at the very, very high point of that. So you can think from C, you got your C, or C, you can think, here comes the bride. So again, I'm going to make sure I'm below that, okay, maybe mid-range. Make sure your ear is relatively close to the head, hit it once. Let's up to it, hit it again to check. Okay, and then from there, you've got your pitches. Now you want to kind of go back through and check the intonation of the pitches. Simply, what I like to do first is play an octave together. Okay, and then from there, divide your fifths and your fourths. So here's a fifth and fourth. Okay, now a lot of popular music uses fifths and fourths rampantly throughout it. So you're used to hearing that. And that's something that you could probably judge better than you can the actual individual interval by itself. So anyways, that's really the procedure that we're looking for tuning. The next thing you want to kind of talk about, and we need to talk about and understand, is basically the energy and sound of this particular piece. Now this one has a lot of 16th notes. There's a drive through it. There's a motor rhythm through it. So we really need to have kind of this large, full energy from the drums. And we're also talking fortissimo is the most pervasive dynamic through it. So something I like to use is basically an innovative percussion mallet called the Bamboo Timpani No. 7, which I think has a good weight, good articulation, enough where you're going to hear the soft 16th notes, but at the same time, the rolls aren't over-articulated or give some sense of sustain to those. So basically, and I like the upper tempo given, so 96 to 108. I think 108 is a really solid tempo to be able to play it comfortably and to get some of the dampenings fairly consistent. So anyways, as far as energy and sound, it really needs to be up. It needs to have some drive to it. Next thing I want to talk about is balance, and this is one of the biggest challenges with this pieces. This, in particular, this piece and these timpani, when you're using the bottom 3, in particular if the 26 is at the top of the range, okay? And the 32, which is a large one, and in the mid-range, you're always going to get a lot from the higher drums, especially from their upper range. And you're not going to get near as much as projection and balance from the bottom pitch. And so it's a matter of putting more energy and more volume overall into the lower pitches and really kind of treat the upper pitches with some care and some reservation. And record yourself to make sure that you are achieving balance throughout the drums. And sometimes to you behind the drums that actually is perceived as balance, out in the audience sometimes it is definitely not. And a lot of times you'll lose that bottom drum. In particular, if you look down in the 6th line, when we get to some of the cross figures in the 3-note, 16-note grouping, you'll find that the bottom drum a lot of times by the configuration of stickings gets lost. So you want to make sure that kind of comes out and don't overplay the top drum. So that's one of the largest things to deal with to me in this piece is balancing the top F and the bottom F and make sure that all is really smooth. The next thing I want to talk about is dampening. And dampening in this piece you can relegate to pretty much quarter note rest. You want to grab just about every quarter note rest that's in here with at least one drum dampening. And I would definitely check out the performance video to make sure that you can at least understand my approach to that. There's a figure in the 2nd measure that also happens in the 1st measure, the 3rd line, and also 3 lines up from the bottom, 2nd bar. It's very similar in association. You want to dampen that aggressively, and you want to dampen it with the note value and duration that's written. Now you'll notice the last one, the 3rd one, which is basically 3 lines up from the bottom, 2nd measure, has a quarter note versus the others have that figure as an 8th note. And so you do want to dampen that correctly, what's there. The other places to dampen is basically when you get down the 6th line, the 2nd bar, and that phrase that continues for about 10 bars, you want to grab those quarter note rests too. And you want to do it by dampening basically the first pitches that you played last. So if you play this figure, you want to dampen the top 2, which you played basically last, and allow this one to ring. And that goes for whatever figure. If it went down, you'd actually obviously dampen the bottom 2. So again, whatever was played last, you want to dampen first. So anyways, there's a couple other places like 4th line up from the bottom, that piano 8th note figure. I wouldn't sweat actually trying to dampen 8th note rest in between there because I think it adds too much articulation and sound to the overall rhythm. So I probably would not do that, and you'll see that in the video. Cool. The last thing we talk about is phrases. And basically the phrases in this piece aren't prevalent in the fact that dynamically we have fortissimo almost pervasive through the whole thing. There's a couple places where you have repeated figures that tend to lead to different sections within the piece. And I would do something with those, and that'll go a long way in differentiating your audition etude from others. If you look at the first one, basically, to me anyways, is the 5th line down from the top, 2nd measure. And that 16th note figure that moves down and up the drums, basically you can start a little bit softer and crescendo that to the 6th line back to fortissimo. That's a place that really naturally evolves that you probably want to do something with musically. The next one is probably 3rd line up from the bottom, basically the last measure. Also a 16th figure that's repetitive, but I would take all 3 bars starting from about mezzo forte and crescendo up to the fortissimo roll. So anyways, there's probably a few other places that I would use your intuition and musical input to try and create a little more phrase and a little more direction, a little more sectionalization of the piece in your interpretation. So anyways, hopefully these comments are helpful. Best of luck on your audition and enjoy the piece.